Okay, I believe you should be able to hear me now. I don't think anyone was hearing me earlier. My mic wasn't connected. I'm not even sure if my music was connected. Yeah, so my apologies if you weren't hearing anything. I had some audio issues just now. Yeah, but I'm here, so ready to go. I was saying before I realized that you couldn't hear me that I'm gonna be doing a launch today. It's a surprise, but not a surprise because I've technically mentioned it before. But yeah, I'm gonna be launching something pretty cool today on stream, so you can look out for that. Um, yeah, so I'm gonna get right to it shortly. Just give me a second here. And yeah, let's go. So today I actually am launching a new project, whatever you want to call it. It's a website template, one that I've mentioned on Twitter if you follow me. If you are on Facebook, you would have also seen it. And that is aesthetic. So I'm going to show you that in a second. Let me just make sure my display is ready. Alright, just a second folks, I need to fix a small issue here. Alright, what I'll do... Yeah, here we go. Alright, so we're ready. Here it is. I just tweeted it too, so if you're on Twitter, you should probably see that tweet now. I just launched this literally just before I got on here. I was doing the finishing touches of getting it up on my store, but it's on my Gumroad store, so if you're interested and you want to check out this theme, you can go and grab it now for just $10. It's going to be $15 in a little while, maybe like a month or so, so for now, make sure that you go out and grab it at $10. That is my release price, so make sure you get it. I'm thinking of doing a giveaway, but I haven't determined the details of that yet, so we'll see. But if you would like to get it free, keep an eye out for a giveaway, maybe on a stream, on Twitter, on any of my platforms. Yeah, just keep an eye out for that. So let me demonstrate this to you quickly. If you haven't seen it before, has a nice circle menu here, or radial menu as others call it. And this is customizable to the extent that you can actually add or remove any number of elements up to 8 elements. So this is the maximum number of elements that you can have. And you can also remove the decorations if you don't want these. It's just a simple class that you remove from any element and it should turn it off. Now if you're seeing flickering on the screen, by the way, that is a small issue with my setup. I will fix that before the stream is out, so don't panic. But yeah, also it has a really snazzy contact page. Well, it's not really a page because it's a single page / landing page website, so I should just call this a dialogue, but being technical there. Yeah, it's a really snazzy contact dialogue that you can check out as well. And it is fully accessible. I made sure that I stuck to semantic HTML and everything should basically work as it is supposed to. And also a really cool partners page. Now this, I'm not going to demonstrate this now because I don't want to come out of full screen, but all of this is also fully responsive and will adapt not only to your screen size but to your browser, because I actually included some Firefox specific code to work around some issues on Firefox, so it is adaptable beyond just your device. Alright, and you can even close any dialogue by clicking on the background. And of course this will take you to my website, so I'm not going to click on that. But yeah. You also get optional tooltips. You can easily turn these off again by just removing a class. And that is basically it for the demo, but in essence I kept it simple. It's really simple to customize, so you can replace any of these images with your own. You can change the colors easily. All of this is for us web designers and web developers to concern ourselves with. You can change the variables at the top of the CSS file and customize this template pretty quickly and pretty easily. And everything obviously uses the power of the cascades, so it all cascades down from just those variables. Alright, so that is basically it. Oh yes, and these icons, these are part of an icon set called ISO Social RX, but I included them with the template, so you can use these for free. Don't worry, you don't have to pay me anything. Those will be released in a full icon set in the not too far future. Alright, so with all of that said and done, we will hop over to illustration in a minute. But just let me remind you to check out my stores. That is rolanddixor.gumroad.com, rolanddixor.teespring.com, and or you could go to teespring.rolanddixor.pro and also look for me on Redbubble. So you can check out all my stores and grab some really cool stuff. But make sure, of course, you grab Aesthetic. I also have Photogenic and Eventide, and I think maybe a couple others there, and I have some more in the pipeline as well that should be launching very, very soon, so keep an eye out for those as well. And make sure that you keep an eye out because you get release prices that you're not going to get again, so make sure you go and you grab those. Alright, so as I said, with all that said and done, let's hop over to illustration in a minute. Okay, so I've got Inkscape open, and today I'm going to be doing a character design. Not a specific character, as in I don't have a name for this character, but it is based on a story that I'm working on called Trapezium, so you can look out for the Trapezium universe. I'm going to be dropping a preview hopefully early this year. It is nearly complete, and volume 1 should also hopefully be able to drop this year. And I'm going to follow that up with a number of other volumes, but we'll have to wait and see how that goes. So yeah, if you're new to my channel, I like to do graphics, CSS, painting, other stuff like that. But today we're going to do some freestyling and graphics. I normally would do like a more structured like teaching stream or anything like that, but I'm planning to move those to Tuesdays. And we're gonna have Thursdays more or less dedicated to coding, so yeah, you can look out for that to begin from around like next week, Tuesday, if all goes according to plan. God willing, we will be doing graphics on Tuesday and then CSS on Thursday. Right, so as I said, I'm going to be doing a character from one of my stories, and they're actually from a fictional civilization from Africa, so you could get to see some techniques for drawing black hair if you're not familiar. There are multiple ways to achieve it, but I have my own style that you can probably emulate. And I like to start with hair most of the time too, because that's just my thing, but there is another technique that I will probably use before this stream is out, which is to draw the person's head first and then cover their head with hair. By the way, I'm also planning a short story based on one of my illustrations. I'm actually thinking of making that kind of a thing for my illustrations, to do accompanying short stories. It was suggested to me recently and I think it's pretty cool. I actually have a concept in mind for Between the Worlds of My Mind, which is an illustration I did recently. You can also grab that one, by the way, from my various stores. If you want it printed, you can grab it from my Teespring and my Redbubble stores, and if you want it in a digital format alone, you can grab it from my Gumroad store. But yeah, I am working on a short story for that one as well. It's a space themed kind of thing, but it also goes into aspects of the mind, because the point of that illustration was you're dealing with someone who is in space, traveling in space on a spaceship, but thinking about being back home, so they're literally between the worlds of their mind. So I'm gonna try to incorporate that concept into the storyline, so you can look out for that, hopefully not too far into the year, depending on how things go. As you all know, life is unpredictable right now, and you know, can't really make promises on time, but I will try to get that out hopefully soon. Now, by the way, just to explain what I'm doing here in terms of drawing this here, I'm doing not so much circular strokes, more like you can say ovular strokes, if that makes sense to you, but also going up and down in a very close pattern. The reason I'm doing that is because I'm simulating basically locks. Of course, I will do more detail on this as I go, but I'm just trying to get a basic idea of where this person's hair should fall. And I must say too, I'm not really I'm trying to find the right word to describe it, but I never used to really draw people that often. In my earlier years, I was a paper artist for the most part, so I would draw a lot, but I would draw a lot of imaginary creatures and stuff, but I wasn't really into drawing people. So I've been really putting in a lot of work on that and practicing, and it's actually a pretty fun experience, because drawing humans and drawing animals, we're worlds apart in a sense. A lot more well, I mean, thought has to go into both, but for me at least, I have to put a lot more thought into what I'm doing drawing people. But it is a pretty fun experience, capturing emotion and expression and finding my way in doing this. And what I will say too is that no matter what your skill set, the most important thing is to get started. That is the most important step in anything. If you're wondering if you can do something, the only way that you can find out if you can do that something is to actually start. If you never start, you never know if you could or you couldn't. Just sitting and saying, I can't get that done, and I'm not good at this and I'm not good at that, and never trying, will never get you anywhere. And then too, I'll also add to that you can basically, oh yeah, I do have a lot of open dialogues, like always. And I switch between all of those when I'm working on projects. I switch between all those a lot. Oh, but I was saying, one of the things I was thinking about earlier today that is really critical is no one should, well, not no one, but most of us should try to step out from the box a little bit from time to time, because, like, take for instance with web design, everyone just picks a toolkit that's popular and runs with it. But the real innovation comes when you decide, you know what, I'm going to put the toolkit down for a minute and try to recreate or reinvent the wheel. Now, you may say, why should I reinvent the wheel? Because obviously, you know, you're trying to get things done. But if no one ever reinvents the wheel, no one ever tries to find a better way to make the same thing. So yeah, we have wheels, but sometimes you need better grip, or you need more torque, or you need, you know, a sturdier wheel or something. So try reinventing the wheel from time to time, and you come up with something that no one else can do. Or maybe you do something that other people can do, but you do it in a way that no one else can do it. Now, by the way, another insight as to why I'm doing this the way I'm doing it, as opposed to drawing her head first and then doing her hair, is because when I draw the hair first, I actually can determine kind of like where I want the face to be pointing. And when I'm doing this freestyle, I usually don't have necessarily like a defined direction in mind first. I will kind of just let the drawing carry me wherever it's going. So by doing the hair first, I get to determine, okay, well, this might fit better if I point it to the left or to the right, if I have them looking up or looking down. And sometimes it even informs to a degree the expression that I'm going to give the person as well. And as I improve my skills, obviously, I get better and better at determining where I want to take it. I'm going to try to fill in her neck here a little bit. Of course, hair has to fall behind that as well. I'll give you a little insight into something concerning me, and that is that since drawing humans is not necessarily my forte or my favorite area, I mean, I'm going to like it a lot more, but since drawing humans is not my thing, I actually like drawing Africans and other people who have a tendency to wear flowing clothes, because flowing clothing means that I don't have to do as much detail on certain parts of the body. So that's one of the reasons I like drawing certain like people groups. It's cheating, but hey, it works. Although I do have to get better at drawing like t-shirts and you know, that kind of modern westernized stuff. I like the fact that I can kind of just hide behind like a long flowing robe or something and not have to think about how should this fold and how should that fold. But again, taking my own advice, you have to step out sometimes. So I have been stepping out recently and trying different clothing styles and stuff like that. And it's actually a fun experience. In terms of people groups though, I also like experimenting with different ethnicities for the hair, because hair is another aspect of drawing humans that's different from drawing animals, and it really gives you that is really funny, Mark. That was really funny. But I like drawing different ethnicities because you have to challenge yourself in terms of figuring out how hair should flow and like the strokes you should use, the direction of these strokes, different stuff like that. I'm thinking with the way how I'm doing her clothes, well, you could call this a robe or whatever. I'm not sure if this would, well, I know in Africa often people wear dashikis, which are kind of long and flowing, but not this long. So I'm not sure what this would classify as, but from the clothing that she is wearing, it can tell you that within the story universe I'm building, she would be of a royal lineage. Even though all of them wear long flowing clothes, in this particular tribe, the style of clothing I'm going with would give her kind of a royal heir to her. So I'm thinking, even though I'm not going to name her and I'm not necessarily associating her with any existing character in that story, that she'll probably have maybe some insignia or something to signify that she's royalty. Speaking of which, character building and world building is one of my favorite things to do, and it drives you to have to really think about aspects of life you don't normally think about. So like history and how that plays into daily life, and even things like people's diets and stuff like that. I love to think about all those minor details and how they play in the story. Some of that stuff you probably won't even read about in the story, but I still write it out. And when the Trapezium website comes out, you'll be able to go through kind of like a whole library of information. So for those who are like me, who like to read beyond the actual pages of a text or, you know, a book or whatever, you'll be able to go and peruse that website for pretty much everything. Everything from what you can find in different places in the story and the history of those people, and you know, who interacted with who had a war with who, all sorts of stuff. And some of the stuff plays out in the actual story, but some of it is just there because I like creating that kind of stuff and thinking about it. Alright, up to this point here, seeing as this is going to be the top of her head, I'm going to actually start using those rounded strokes to give the appearance of, well, not really braids, but like locks have a similar appearance to braids and plaits. And I have locks myself, so I see this whenever my hair is actually in good condition. So I'm going to use that kind of circular stroke up here to signify that. I don't know if this happens to anyone else who draws people, but sometimes I find when I'm drawing people, especially as I'm getting better at it, even though they're not real, I sometimes like wish that I could meet the people that I'm drawing, and I imagine like what would they be like if they were real people, and what would their personalities be like, or you know, what would their likes and dislikes be like, what do they sound like, you know, that kind of stuff. Maybe that's just me, but I tend to go that far when I'm drawing people. I'm going to give her a pendant as well, which is another feature of this tribe. Now, for those who are not aware, in Inkscape, say if you're drawing with a calligraphic tool, well, with the calligraphic tool, and you have the width like this, and you want to get more detail, you can actually zoom in. I'm trying to find the button on my, there it is. Couldn't find the button just now. You can actually zoom in, and then you can get smaller strokes and get that detail from up close. And then when I zoom back out, you'll be able to see finer detail than if I were zoomed in like I am right now. I don't know if I said that as I wanted to, but yeah, my brain was kind of running ahead of my mouth, or my mouth was running ahead of my brain wanted to, but I hope you got the point. You'll also notice that these strokes are now a lot lighter because the color I'm using is actually not really black, it's a dark gray. So as you zoom in and they're smaller, they actually look a lot lighter than they technically are. Kind of feels like drawing on paper in a way, which is really cool. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention this at the start of the stream, but massive shout out to Martin because I entered a a competition or a giveaway, whatever you want to call it. I think it was called a giveaway, right? Yeah, it was a giveaway around Christmas time, and I won. And Martin sent me a really cool tablet that allowed me to get back into my roots. So you're going to be seeing that in future streams once I figure out how to actually hook it up to the computer. I haven't had a chance to do that yet because this week has been pretty busy, but I've tried it on my phone and it is really cool. So I'm hoping that soon I can hook that up to the computer and actually do some live streams drawing on paper. Okay, that looks really good. I wasn't expecting this to look that good, but it does look really good. I almost feel like leaving her just as she is here with no face. Well, I mean she has a face, but no features and no real detail here because it just looks cool like it is. Oh, by the way, let me save this before I lose it. Oh, sweet. Now, for those who are not on YouTube chat, Martin was referring to, well, talking about actually a program that is used with this same tablet that I just mentioned. He is one of the Inkscape developers, and he also committed a patch to the program that is used with the same tablet, Wacom Bamboo Folio. And so basically I should be able to export SVG using an app called Toohi. I believe that's the pronunciation. And yeah, that should improve. Even if I'm not able to do live drawing on the stream, that it should improve the output, and that should mean that you'll still get to see my drawings, my hand-drawn stuff on stream. So that's pretty cool. I'm thinking actually of doing some illustrations and then painting them in GIMP as well. I was thinking about that earlier before I got on stream. So on Tuesdays when I do my graphic streams in the future, you can look out for something like that pretty soon. Even this one, I might turn this into an actual painted illustration, because I think it would be pretty cool to make these things come alive a little more. I like black and white and it looks really nice, but I like to see some color as well. I'm going to clean up her chin here in a minute, but first I'm going to zoom in and give her a mouth. I have tried Krita, but I need to get a hang of it. I guess because I'm so accustomed to GTK applications, it's my default to go to other GTK applications, but I will get back to it and see if I can get the hang of it. I guess it's just KDE applications have a slightly strange feel to me, being that I've been on GTK apps for pretty much most of my time on Linux. Not that I can't use them, I mean it's nothing like that, it's just a feel. And that's just one of those things. Alright, let me give her a mouth. Should I go up here or should I come down here? I think I'm gonna go around here. Alright, I'm gonna start that again. I'm using really light strokes for her lips so I can kind of get an idea of where I want her mouth to form, and then I'm gonna go over that to make it thicker when I'm done. By the way, I'm not sure if anyone has checked it out yet, but Pinta had a release recently, version 3.0, which I thought was gonna land probably, what, 2-3 years ago now? But it finally released, and it's actually pretty solid. It does crash quite a bit, unfortunately, on my system. I'm not sure if that's just my system or if that's just a general problem, but it does crash a little bit. But other than that, it's pretty solid feature-wise. The interface is a lot nicer. There are a few kinks that need to be worked out, but if you're interested in open source graphics, you can definitely check that out. By the way, for those who've been following me for a while and have been seeing my issues drawing noses, I'm getting better at it. Trying different techniques in my personal time, and I'm actually beginning to get the hang of it, I think. Oops, just made a mistake there. Actually, that mistake isn't too bad. Sometimes blemishes make the real thing look better, but hey, I'm gonna take it back out and do it over. I still have some work to do in terms of getting the details of noses correct, but hey, everything in its time. I'm getting there. Alright, now that I have her mouth in place, I'm gonna clean her chin up. I will never get over how cool this eraser tool is. Yeah, it is true, no one knows noses. When I get to heaven, that's one of the things I'm gonna probably ask about, like, what were you thinking? Why do we have a... Not really. I know why we have a nose, but it's like, you know, it could be just a little easier to draw. Although, I do have a friend, I'm not sure if he's watching or not, but I do have a friend who's really good at illustrating people, and he gets noses done so well, and I'm like, how do you do that? I mean, I have to ask him one of these days. When I see him again, I'm going to have to ask him how he gets that done, but he's really good at it, and I'm just in awe. It's definitely a skill. Like, you could actually... You could, well, not literally, but you could get a job as a nose artist. Or at least if I had a company, I'd pay people just to do that. I would draw the whole person with no nose and tell you, I'm going to pay you $50,000 a year to draw a nose. Alright, now one of my favorite things to do, which is drawing eyes. Now what I do when I'm drawing eyes, I like to do eyebrows, then the upper eyelid, lower eyelid, and then the eye itself. I've been perfecting my technique over the last few months. I think it gives greater expression to when you do all that detail. I used to be very simplified when I was drawing people. I still am to some extent, but I like now to improve on my details. So her eyebrows first, upper eyelid, yep, we're definitely back to anatomy. Funny enough, before I settled on like web design and that kind of stuff, I was very much into the sciences and into anatomy. I think I still have a cardiac anatomy book here. So I had illustrations, not my own obviously, but that book was like full of illustrations of salamanders and lancets and all kinds of creatures, and that was where I would take a lot of my inspiration from. Everything from fish all the way up to, well, maybe not elephants, but they had pretty much everything in there. So anatomy is one of my favorite things. And also I studied human biology and what else? basically science. I've dipped my toes into trying to understand everything from the basic biology and chemistry all the way up to quantum physics. So I'm a bit of a everyman there when it comes to the sciences. But yeah, anatomy is where I like to part myself out. I haven't memorized all of the bones and different stuff like that, and I know some people who have. I even at one point had a friend who used to do that, like actually memorized everything from finger bones to toe bones and everything like that. Me, on the other hand, that's a bit too deep for me, so I don't do all that. I think it also comes from the fact that I started out really into paleontology, so bones are where my interest started in the sciences. Which is kind of creepy, I know, but hey, it is what it is. Now, not to worry, she does not have superpowers, so she will not have glowing laser eyes. I just like to do the outline first and then come in from there. Now, in the storyline, some of the people in this tribe do have superpowers as well, but that's not innate to them. That is something that is kind of forced on them in a sense. But they do have advanced technology, so maybe in a future stream when I release the story in future streams, I may actually draw some of their technology with the characters. But she won't have any of that stuff today. I'm gonna keep her simple. Well, yes, I was very much into paleontology, and I used to love bones. I actually used to dig up. This is gonna be really funny and even probably slightly embarrassing, but I used to dig up like giant shells and stuff because the island we're on, Barbados, is made out of limestone. So sometimes you would find like shells and everything embedded in the limestone, and I used to dig up my grandmother's front yard trying to find bones. What I thought were dinosaur bones as a little boy. It was just conch shells, but couldn't tell me that. I thought they were actually dinosaur bones. And I made quite a mess. But I have to say my expedition paid off, because one fateful day, I actually managed to pull a gigantic conch shell out of rock. I don't know how I managed to pull that off. It took me like maybe 2-3 years or longer, but I managed to pull an entire conch shell out of the rock, and I was so proud of myself. But then I was also slightly disappointed because it was not a dinosaur bone, which I should have been able to figure out, seeing as it was pink and shiny. And even though dinosaur bones have been found that are fresh and even smell, which is pretty disturbing, they're not usually pink and shiny and shaped like a shell. So I should have known. But hey, it was like, what, I was probably 8 or younger, so you can forgive me for that one. I should probably have given her a smile, but then I'm still getting the hang of drawing expression into eyes, so I'm not sure a smile would necessarily work here. But she looks somewhat unimpressed. I mean, I guess that goes with being royalty. Royalty, at least most royalty that I know, tends not to look very impressed with pretty much anything. So maybe it works. I'm gonna give her some random lines here on her face. Oh, by the way, I'm not seeing undo and redo up here. I'm not sure why that is, so I'm probably gonna have to file a bug on that. But they haven't been working for a short time now, maybe like a month. For those who are not familiar with my streams, I use development builds of Inkscape, both so I can see what's coming in future releases, but also so that if I come across any show-stopping bugs, I can report them. Now, I haven't done that in a while, I admit, because I haven't really been focused on bug finding, but if I do come across any showstoppers, I'll be sure to report them. Alright, I'm gonna zoom back out and work on her hair for a little bit. I think she looks pretty nice, if I may say so myself. Now, another little detail. One of the reasons why I don't use black itself is because it allows me to get finer detail by using the calligraphic tool. So when I'm drawing, like if I draw a stroke like that, you see how light it is, versus if I were to use actual black, you can see how heavy that one is. I don't want it to be that heavy, but if I go back over it with the same tool, like what I'm doing with her here, it looks black, because when they're overlaid on each other in Inkscape, it actually thickens the color and everything. So that's one of the reasons why I like to use a dark gray as opposed to black. But if I wanted to print this now and I wanted it to be like a richer black, maybe for like display or something, I could probably just export this to a PNG and increase the contrast, and there you go. Oh, that's another good strategy that Martin just mentioned in the chat. You can also use black but set it to an opacity of like 80%, and that should do the same trick. I'm gonna give her some randomness here on the edges, because with lots you'll typically find that there's some stray hair sticking out. I'm gonna cover this side of her eye a little bit. Using very light strokes on the edges here to give some fuzz. Now again, for those who are, if you're watching this to learn how to draw black hair, this is not the only technique. There are other techniques that you can use, even other techniques that I use, like one of them, which I'm not sure if I'm going to demonstrate it today, but I may demonstrate it in the near future. One of them is to draw circles for everything. So like you're simulating the curls in her hair, and you just keep using those over and over and over for the entire thing. But I will warn you that using that strategy will hurt your hand eventually. I've done it for a few illustrations, and afterward my hand hurt me probably for a week. So I don't suggest doing that method too much, especially if you have to really get thickness on it and it means that you have to press down. I wouldn't recommend doing that. But if you want better results, I can tell you it definitely works. Like if detail of the curls and stuff is more important to you, then that method definitely works better. It's similar to what I'm doing now, by the way, but usually with thicker curls than what I'm using here, just to give edges, or I should say to give fuzz, really, because this is to make it look a little more natural. I don't want any hair experts coming for me, especially seeing as we talking black hair, and I know how important it is. I mean, I have locks, but I'm not as fussy over it. But I know some people be like, edges, what are you talking about? And it's like, I didn't mean those kinds of edges. I mean the edges of, her locks. And people be like, no you don't. No you don't. That ain't what you... I'm not gonna get in any trouble with anybody, so yeah. Normally when they refer to edges, they're talking about this part right here. But I'm talking about the edges of her actual individual locks. Oops. Let's do that again. Alright, now that I have her hair and face detailed, I'm going to start working on her clothes a bit. So with this tribe, their clothes typically would be like a long flowing, it's either a cape or a robe, but it covers their upper body and opens somewhere toward the middle. So they can either close it completely or they can open it like what I'm going to do here, so that you can actually see underneath. Underneath they would wear like a pants, and if it's a man it would be maybe like a shirt or something similar to a shirt, because shirts are not universal either, believe it or not. Or it could be something like a dashiki, or even something wrapped around, anything like that. In her case, as royalty, she would be wearing a pant similar to what we would call bell-bottom jeans, but instead of flaring at the bottom, they'd be just kind of like tapering toward the bottom. But I'm not drawing her feet, because feet are one little area that are also, kind of tricky for me, and I typically tend to leave them alone, so I'll just maybe like, do the tops of her legs. She really looks so unimpressed right now. Like she's looking at me and saying, really? Yeah, I tried my best, okay? Give me a break. Yes, I am talking to a drawing. Give some detail around here just to simulate her hand underneath, causing this to bulge. Or more like her elbow somewhere around here, causing it to bulge out. And then the other elbow would be somewhere around here. So I'm going to just put some lines to simulate curvature. That's one of the fun things I like about art, is that you're technically tricking your brain. And if you learn the techniques of tricking the brain, then you can do better art. Because none of this is three-dimensional. But if I were good enough, I could make this look to us as though we're seeing a three-dimensional structure. It's still going to look pretty two-dimensional, because obviously my three-dimensional skills, for people at least, need some work, but with enough practice I'll be able to really get that three-dimensional structure done, even though it's a two-dimensional medium, because that's just how our brains work. It has a certain limit beyond which they can't tell things apart. I'm gonna put her belt somewhere around here. I really like how this came out, by the way. It looks really nice. I think what I'm going to do is actually draw one of the people from the other civilization that they're associated with in the story. They're not of African descent, so they're gonna look pretty different in a sense. I'm gonna base that. I'm gonna draw another woman actually, but base her on one of the characters from the story who I will not reveal today because that's still a secret, so no spoilers, but at least the appearance of that person will be somewhat similar to one of the characters in the story. Now, by the way, I'm not resizing her because I want her that small. I'm resizing her so I have room to work on the other person, and then I will bring her back up to match. Alright, so for this one now I'm going to be actually doing more or less like a European hairstyle on this woman, and I do like to start with hair, especially drawing European hair. I like to start with the hair. With Africans I do either or. With Europeans I typically start with the hair first. And in this case, because her hair is going to partially cover her face, I'm going to start with the part that does cover her face first, and then work out from there. So this is going to be her shoulder somewhere around here. Now both groups do wear capes and robes, but this particular group, no, their capes are halfway across. So not the Superman cape that goes down his back only, but one that covers half of the body, especially in royalty, and the side it falls on tells you a lot about that person as well. What I'm going to need to do here, now that I think about it before I go any further, let me group all of this, move her over to here, group her, resize, get her somewhere up here. I should probably turn off snapping so I don't keep getting those green lines, and also so my CPU doesn't decide to go on the fritz. So yeah, let me just turn snapping off for now. Alright, back to drawing. obviously she's looking to the side and something has caught her attention, but she is not necessarily too pleased about whatever it is. Just like her friend over there is totally unimpressed. When I'm doing human beings, one of the things I find fascinating about the diversity in us is noticing how it causes you to use different drawing styles and stuff like that. So like when I'm doing European here, you'll notice that I didn't do a lot of detail first. I just did kind of like an outline of where I want to go, whereas with this one, the detail is part of the outline. So it's pretty interesting to see how it all works. And it does play out like that in a sense in real life in terms of how our diversity is formed, you know, like biologically, because like all those curls and stuff in our hair as black people is what causes our hair to form the shape that it does, whereas the thicker, straighter hair that Europeans have is what causes it to fall straight down. So you have to keep all those things in mind when you're trying to achieve realism drawing people, and I find that pretty fascinating. So like, even if I were drawing someone of European descent with curly hair, the techniques I would use would be different than if I were drawing someone of African descent with curly, well, we mostly have curly hair, but because of the way how the hair is structured biologically, I mean, this is not something you need to be aware of if you're an artist, it's just useful to know, but the way how our hair is structured is different between different ethnic groups. So it's good to know that because it helps you to determine like fall off and different stuff like that. That's also why, by the way, that you'll notice that people of European descent can tend to have like a straight hair that stands by itself because their hair is literally thicker, whereas ours is actually thinner and curls more. So it's a little more rare, unless you're me, to have your hair sticking out at random. But if you're me now, who happens to have a mix of different ethnicities in my line that somehow just pops out at random on my hair, you'll notice that my beard, for instance, has one hair that is straight and decides it doesn't want to curl and it sticks straight out. I don't know why that is, but it just is. And then on my head, sometimes my hair will be growing curly, and then one hair just decides, I don't want to do that, and drops down from like outside of one lot and just falls straight down my head. It's really weird, but it happens. So as I mentioned earlier, their capes come halfway across. fall in front of their body on one side and behind on the other side. So on what would be her left side, I'm going to put it going over her shoulder like this. And on what would be the right side, it's going to have this area here. I'm going to have to erase some of this. This is where her insignia would be. So this should be kind of rounded. And then it's going to fall right down in front of her like this. So one hand will be exposed, the other hand will be covered. I'm going to give myself a little bit of a challenge here because usually I draw faces head on, but as I am trying to improve my people drawing skills, I'm going to try to draw her face looking in a direction. So her mouth will be somewhere over here as opposed to somewhere here. Now I think I'm going to actually do her mouth open instead of closed. I may take some trays at this before I get it right. Let me do something rough first. Actually, I think I like it closed. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave it as closed, but instead of having her mouth be kind of like thinner at the top, well, sorry, thinner at the bottom, I'm going to leave it thicker at the bottom and thinner at the top. Which is actually quite like the character that I based her on. Now for the most dreaded part of all, drawing a nose. In the story, the people that she is a part of, all of them do have some degree of powers, but because she is obviously of royal descent, judging by her robes, she would have some kind of real superpowers. So not just enhanced strength, but probably flight and other features like that. So I might actually put her eyes looking as though they might glow or something like that. She is clearly perturbed at whatever it is that she is seeing. someone who never used to draw people before, it really is a good feeling to have come this far, because I used to just basically, you know, do some random stuff and leave it at that. But I really have been putting in some work on this and I'm loving it. I actually now enjoy drawing people to the point where, like, say if I'm watching a TV show or something like that, I'll just grab the tablet and draw. Just draw random people. I still have to do some work on certain details like hands and feet especially. And obviously noses. Noses are the bane of humanity, because everything stinks. I'm just kidding. But noses are hard still, but I'm getting there. She really does look like the character that I base her on, though. Even though she is no relation, she looks a whole lot like that character. Looks better though, because obviously I have improved since I would have started, but wow, she looks a lot like the character. When y'all eventually get the chance to see that character, you'll see what I mean. Okay, I need to work on the detail of her eye here, because when it's zoomed in, it looks better than when it's zoomed out. So let me see if I can close this off a bit. Or better yet, what I can do is, this is one of the things I really love about Inkscape. I can just select a part of this and resize. See? That is so cool. It's kind of like retouching, but for a drawing instead of a photo. I'm going to need to move this section here across here, because where this pupil is pointing and where this one is pointing makes her look cross-eyed, and that's not quite what I want. Nothing wrong with being cross-eyed, just that's not what I'm trying to achieve here. So I'm going to zoom in and try to get her pupil moved. Let me zoom back out for a moment here. There we go. Her expression is actually making me laugh because she genuinely looks ticked off. She also looks kind of like really like her friend over here. Look, like they're looking at something and they're going, "This is just disappointing." So what I'm actually gonna do, seeing as that's how I have her, is put her hand kind of just draping to the side, or better yet, I should like pull it across here. Should I? I'm not quite sure. Alright, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna select all of her and move her up so that I have more room for her hand to fit. How long should this be? Well, there should be an elbow. Now keep in mind that these people wear armor just about all the time. In the story, this particular civilization left Earth to live in space, so they're always in armor. Except for if they're inside of a ship or something, they may take it off temporarily so that they can, you know, do things. I'll leave it at that. But you know, if they are otherwise occupied, they're usually in some kind of armor. They're also very war-loving people, so that's part of the reason why armor and not just a suit like a space suit. Whereas these folks over here were pacifists before, despite having weapons. That will all be explained when you actually get to read the story or view the website. But yeah, a bunch of war-loving people who didn't really necessarily use weapons. They were the weapons, and then a bunch of people who are pacifists but had weapons. Let me see if I can get her hand illustrated correctly. Hands still give me a little bit of trouble, but I'm getting there. So that's her pinky finger. Her ring finger. Middle finger would come about here. Index. And her thumb will be hidden somewhere behind there. I really wish I could talk to these drawings and ask them what they're so upset about. But really and truly, it's just that drawing smiles, believe it or not, is not as easy as it looks. You actually have to put some effort into it. But don't worry, I have been working on smiles as well. It's not that hard to do necessarily, but it takes effort, and I didn't really have the time to go into the effort for smiles this evening. Well, see, as I extended her like this, I'm probably going to end up extending her friend a bit. Which is cool for me, because I wanted to draw her legs a little longer. Now in the storyline, these people typically would not be friends, but some of the warriors, if you want to call them that temporarily, because it's not really what they're called, but some of the warlike people actually have a heart, and they befriended the pacifists, which can get you killed or kicked out in the story, but hey, we'll ignore that part. All good vibes here this time, and this evening. I'm going to give her some kind of insignia, but I'm going to have to erase part of this, so let me thicken the outside line first. I'm also going to give her friend insignia as well, because both tribes would use some kind of markings to signify who you are, or at least what part of the tribe you're from. I really wish they would tell me what it is that has them so perturbed, though. I'm just saying. Like, somebody on this shit doesn't know how to make pancakes, and they just can't handle it. They're like, sis, learn how to cook. Alright, so I'm gonna zoom out a bit. Okay, that came out pretty well. Well, let me give her some kind of insignia. Okay, not bad. Let me work on her body over here. Just so you can see that she actually is wearing a cape and she's not just some ghost or something. And I'll also give her armor some detail. The shape of the armor also tells you a lot about these people in terms of rank and royalty and that kind of stuff. The fact that she's even wearing this kind of armor though would tell you she has to be pretty high up in rank, which is unusual for a woman in this society, because not everything is all sunshine and rainbows in this storyline that I'm working on, and this particular society does not treat women very well, so it tells you that she has to be somebody special. Like, there are some women in their ranks who just decided, hey, you're not gonna treat me like that, and they actually rose to prominence, but they also tend to be pretty powerful. And I'm not just talking in terms of political power, I mean physical power, so she has to be somebody with both. I mean, what good is a sci-fi story without space Nazis, right? Some of whom, of course, are not actually evil because they hate that stuff. know what? I think I may actually have it that her arm is bare, because that would be pretty cool. I've never actually drawn any of them with bare arms, so yeah, I'm gonna have it that her arm is coming out of her armor, because that would just be pretty cool. So these could be tattoos. I kind of like just changing stuff on the fly anyway. Alright, time to get her friend back in the picture. Group her. Move her over here. Get her. Resize her again. Actually gonna move her over to this side, put her back over here where she was originally, and move her over to here. Alright, I'm gonna put her up to about there, and her about there. I don't know, but something about this makes me feel good seeing these two together. Especially because I know the story in my head. None of you watching this will know any of this story. Even in the Trapezium universe when it is released, you won't know the story yet, but for me knowing the story as it is supposed to play out, seeing the two of these together makes me feel pretty good. It's kind of like a story of redemption that the two would be friends. So just to signify that, I'll have their capes kind of like overlap right here. I think that's pretty cool. Now I did say that I would give her some insignia, so I will do that. Hers will be designed quite differently because the tribe that she is from, they use a different style altogether. In case you're wondering what I'm going with here, I was originally going to go with a cat, but I'm going with the wildebeest. Of course it's stylized, so it's not a one-to-one relation to a wildebeest, just kind of signifying the shape, the general shape of the head and horns. You know what, I just realized something. I don't need to draw this over, I can copy and paste, so duplicate and move it over to here. There we go. By the way, if you hear any loud noise, that is from the background. That's not me. Nothing's wrong. Just some playing going on. Alright, I think that looks pretty cool there. Now, the 3 points are significant for this particular trade tool. They are associated with the ancient Ethiopians and adopted a form of Ethiopian Christianity. So the 3 points would be representative of the Trinity and their tribe's lore, if you will, so to speak. Nothing, well, not nothing, but very few things in my art and my stories and stuff are ever random. Just so you know. Give her mouth some more detail. Let me rotate this a bit as well. Oh wait, I forgot I need to ungroup. Oops. Taking a little while to do that because there's so much going on. Alright, there we go. Give some detail below her chin. Some along the sides of her face. This is not to represent age, by the way, that's just to give it a little touch of realism. Alright, let me contour her eye up here a bit too, because it looked a little too open from far. She looks old and wise, but not too old. Alright, that's a bit too thick there. I don't want it too thick. I want to give her a little bit of detail on her face. Not scarification, because this tribe wouldn't practice that, but maybe just an actual scar from life itself. That's a little side note too, by the way. I find that in like movies and stuff, you'll find when people are doing, say, like African tribes and stuff, it'll just throwing random people with scarification that might lead to a particular tribe, you know, and I'm sometimes like, y'all do realize not everybody does that, right? Like in Black Panther, I mean, I respect it because in Black Panther, that was intentional, just so you know. But I did find it a little bit funny at the same time, because in as much as they were trying to portray like that Wakanda would have been the origin of just about everything else in Africa, or every other tribe in Africa, it still was a little funny to see like so many different groups blended together. In retrospect, it is pretty funny to me. Watching the movie, it just made me feel good and made me proud to see our people being, you know, like respected and given center stage for once. But at the same time, it's kind of like, you know, they don't do that, right? Like they, even in a place where, you know, we all supposedly originated, they ain't gonna do that. So yeah, all that to say, any scars you see on this lady here, it's not scarification, it's just life. I'm gonna try to give her neck some detail as well. The thing with drawing people, well, drawing anything really, but I find with drawing people a lot too, you really have to tap into subtlety, because subtlety is what really makes things look more realistic. Just like in real life, there's subtle details that you may not even notice that you're seeing, like pores and hair follicles and, you know, all that stuff, but they're there and they make the whole. So if you were to take those things away, it would look unnatural, which is one of the reasons, by the way, why robots don't look all that realistic to us, or don't really feel completely real, even though they can look close to human. Like that terminology, the Uncanny Valley, I think it is, where there's kind of like a point to which things can look human but not fully human. Robots don't fully do it because they're missing those subtle details that humans actually have. So when I'm trying to draw people now these days, I try to put in some subtlety to achieve something closer to realism. I'm still not there yet. I have a long way to go in terms of realism, but I'm learning some of the tricks of the trade. For anyone who's trying to learn technique, I'm actually pressing harder here because I'm zoomed in, so the lines are going to be thinner, and I do want them to be thicker lines now than when I'm zoomed out. But since I'm zoomed in and they're so small, I can afford to put pressure on it and do these rotations here. And all of this is just to add detail to her locks so that they look more like actual locks. Alright, I'm going to need to zoom back out and thicken this area here, so that it doesn't just look like she has just some wispy something sticking out. Sometimes when I'm doing this on my own, when I have the time of course, this can take me hours upon hours of work to get it done. But I'm not one of those 8-hour stream people, so you're not going to see that from me. Not this evening, not anytime. I don't have time for that. Alright, I think that looks pretty good there. Let me just touch up her friend a bit. Now with European here, I still want to have detail, but I don't want to overdo it or oversell the look because it's thicker here than ours is. It doesn't curl as much, so you want to just leave it with enough open space that it still looks like something thicker and less entangled, if that makes sense. I'm gonna give her some bangs, as they're called. Now, a little insight into the anthropology of this whole situation is that neither of them would have hair that is really like styled and that kind of stuff, because within the civilizations they're from, there's no time with that. You have to be working all the time, especially like this one here on the left. They live in space and they are warriors, so there's not much time to sit and braid your hair and style your hair and do all that stuff. And the one on the right, they would typically have locks, because even when they were on Earth, their lives would have consisted of like fishing and different stuff like that all day, so no time for, you know, playing around in your hair and stuff like that. Alright, Inkscape just put some thick lines there that I didn't want. Notice I'm only shading on one side of her mouth. That's to simulate curvature and keep it looking like if her mouth is slightly upturned because her bottom lip is thicker. I'll try to thicken her eyelid as well. Close her eye in a little bit on the corners. Alright, let's see how that looks. Nice. I love that. So yeah, I think they're pretty much done. What I'm going to do now is give this a background so I can actually save it as a visible PNG instead of just having a transparent backdrop. Right, Inkscape was going a little slow there just now. Alright, let's make this backdrop white. In fact, I forgot, since the new update, I can actually change the backdrop from here. So I don't even need to do that. So yeah, give it a white backdrop. Close this. Close. Thank you. And now let's give them some names. Alright, let me use my mouse because the tablet doesn't want to click. What did I do? By the way, Azin is a title that they carry, so she's an elite. But obviously, seeing as she's friends with her, we know that she probably doesn't still live in their colony, so she would be an Azin, which is an elite that has left the colony, well, left the hive. So she'd be Azin Zulia. And this one over here, she is Nadilkit royalty, but I will not necessarily give her a title. What shall I call her though? I'm thinking of seeing as they're connected with the Ethiopians and likely would use more or less Semitic language. Let me see. Just made these standard sizes. I need to check the spelling on these because I am almost certain this is supposed to have an apostrophe. It's my own story, but I can't remember all the time, so I need to check that. Well, can't really be X to your ethnicity, so we'll just call her by Floridian royalty. Oops, I do not need two E's in helped. So she helped her friend Hestia to escape, and with her fled to Earth, where they now reside. Alright, so nice touching story to go with this illustration, which I'll probably be putting on my stores. Should whet your appetite for the Trapezium universe, I'm going to be releasing a preview story, hopefully within the next month or two, depending on how my timing goes and how much time I have to finish and polish that preview. But it is almost complete, so shouldn't be too long. Trying to fit this in here. I'm gonna probably have to shift her around. But yeah, let me lock this there and quickly shift some stuff around. Okay, Inkscape can hardly handle all that I've drawn today. Oops. How did that happen? They're such friends they don't want to be on groups. Alright, well, we'll work with them as one. Good, so everybody fits in, and that gives me more room to put this text in place. Alright, that's that, folks. So I am going to save this, and you're going to find this on my store shortly. Probably within the next 15 minutes or so, I should have it up on my store if you want to download this as, say, like a wallpaper or whatever you want to do with it. Or if you want to have a print, you can grab it off of my Teespring store. I'm not sure if I'm going to have it on my Redbubble or not. Probably I will, probably I won't. I don't know. So yeah, but I had fun drawing this today. Hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully learned something as well in terms of techniques. You can look out for more like this on Tuesdays, which will be my graphics day from now on. And on Thursdays, look out for more CSS and web design streams. And yeah, I'm Roland Taylor, aka Roland Ditsar. Hope you had a blast just like I did. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I'm out. Oh, and one quick thing. Music this evening was provided by creators like free on YouTube. They produce free music for content creators like myself, so you can go and check them out, and you can get free Afro beats and sound effects from them. Alright, I'm out.